Good morning, Fractal Effects team. Before we get started, please make sure you read the disclosure. If you're following along with us, make sure you're doing a demo account, as this is for educational purposes only. We are not financial advisors, and this is not financial advice. We have a couple of changes we got to make here. So we've been following NAS from the morning. You see a lot of boxes here, but we have a bit of a mixed model. We did manipulate to the upside. We manipulated to the upside, had a 5M fair value gap, and then we took out the bottom of the manipulation range, and we have not had a double break to the bottom. So right now, till we break these highs and close over the NYC fair value gap and create a 5M bullish fair value gap, we are still bearish. About 3 minutes away from range formation. That'll be the final piece of our confluence. A lot of consolidation. Just gonna move this over, just using the US 500 as divergence right now. Not really paying attention to it. And in order for this to continue bearish, we'd have to close under here. And then get a bearish confirmation. It really could go either way today. Even on the higher time frame 4 hour, we've had no real expansion. We were hoping 6 a.m. candle was an expansion candle, but it more or less swept liquidity and closed within the range. And now the 10 a.m. candle on the 4 hour is still sitting midpoint. If anything else, it makes sense for it to expand down into this 4 hour fair value gap. Outlined there and outlined down here. But again, we're just waiting and watching. Now on the 5M, we're starting to see consolidation. Usually when we see consolidation, it leads to a continuation. But again, here is our NYC opening gap. Not to mention the first presented fair value gap after the manipulation move. So in order for us to be bullish, we'd have to get over this. So our range is fully formed now. Let's see if we get a confirmation and if we get over this fair value gap first. So we'd have to take out these highs, get over this, and we want to see a 5M bullish fair value gap created. That would let us know that this thing actually wants to move up. For US 500, you can see we're not even inside the NYC opening gap. It's all the way up here, and this was the first presented bearish fair value gap after we manipulated. So we know that a double break in either direction of that manipulation move is the dealer revealing their hand. We've had no double break right now. We swept out this side and this side, but they're both clean. So if we get a 5M bullish fair value gap and we get over this, and we disrespect this bearish fair value gap, this thing's moving up. And where's it going? Right into the DSD high. Right there. Now this is a weekly fair value gap as well. So we tapped a weekly fair value gap. I got it outlined here with this green line, and that's the midpoint. Also the 1 hour highs. So we hit the consequence encroachment of the weekly fair value gap. I didn't want to paint it out because we're sitting in it. It'd just be too many colors. So be mindful of this divergence right now. This is still a pristine fair value gap, whereas this has been violated. So the market could still push down from here. But it needs to use this as an inverse. It has to get over this, use it as an inverse, and also create a 5M bullish fair value gap, which has not been done yet. So we tapped it now. Excuse me. There's our blue zone right there. We also have the hourly. It's an hourly fair value gap that we tapped. We're sitting right in it. Same over here. So what's happening on the hourly right now? $9 a.m. swept out those highs and the lows. It's a mid candle, midway candle. So we got to see which way the 10 a.m. candle wants to push away from here. We might have to wait for the 11 o'clock candle to be printed and see if this is an expansion candle, then the 11 might be a continuation. Fractals. That's how you want to use them. Look at this. On the 5M, we got 51 seconds left. Getting that rejection. So I'd have to close under here in order for this to start pushing down. So already it's disrespected this fair value gap. Remember, hit a fair value gap, create a fair value gap. So that was our first 1M fair value gap that was created. Now it's creating another one here after it disrespected it. When we always talk about muddying up the waters, this is as muddy as it gets. Both sides of the MM manipulation range violated. No double break. And then on the higher time frame, it swept out both sides. So that 1M fair value gap sticks. Now let's see if it taps it and closes under. But like I said, until it gets under here, I'm not interested. We could still get that 5M bullish fair value gap. And if we break this, then the chances that we're going up greatly increase. So if we break and close above here, it could use the NYC fair value gap as an inverse to go up. Keep in mind tomorrow's PPI. Usually you don't see this kind of a split where it's CPI, then a day with no news, and then PPI. Our NDOG is down here. Remember, when there's no news, the market likes to take out liquidity, sweep liquidity on both sides, but eventually return to fair value. Fair value would be the new day opening gap, which is marked out in that aqua. The new iteration of the indicator launches soon. So we just tap that 1M fair value gap again. Now let's see if it respects it. So the new version of the indicator has the daily standard deviations, the DSD. So everything's worked out for you. Now your targets are set. And if your DSDs fall within the range itself, then you use those as points to draw back to, just like we do the blue zone. But when they're outside the range like they are today, for example, these white boxes, there's your DSD high, there's your DSD low. Those are your targets. As soon as those are hit, you're done. That's for the blue zone strategy, of course. Look at this, still fighting, still back and forth. Again, it could go either way right now. There's more than enough confluence saying this thing wants to push down, then there's more than enough confluence saying that this thing wants to push up. The only thing missing on that bullish bias right now is a 5M bullish fair value gap. So until that's created here, you can see, look at all this back and forth. There's no 5M in here. There's no foothold. So until there's a foothold, this thing is most likely going to still push down into the 4-hour fair value gap. But the second that foothold is created, all of a sudden now the bias changes. If it creates a 5M bullish fair value gap with that foothold and we get above this was the last stronghold pushing in that bearish bias. Right at the EMAs here as well. And then if we break that, that's the double break. We could most likely do one more retracement, but for the most part, we want to head then down to that DSD low and that 4-hour fair value gap. Like I said, right now, it's playing both sides. It's engineering liquidity. Let's look at on the 5-minute real quick. So right there, that's power of 3 that's happening right now. That's the consolidation. Then we're going to most likely see a manipulation. Keep in mind, you don't always have to see a manipulation in order for the market to push. But consolidation, manipulation, and then distribution. Now the only thing though with consolidation is you want to be careful, because depending on where in the range it happens, consolidation usually leads to a continuation after a manipulation. Like I said, I want to close down here. On the 5M right now, this could be just a manipulation down and then a push up. This is literally as muddy as it gets. These are one of these days, honestly, I would avoid. But we're going to call it out. Let's see which way we get that confirmation, because that confirmation is at least going to break this range and let us know. Look at all these equal relative lows that it's left. So that could be the manipulation and the push. Let's see what it looks like on the 5M here. A little harder to see the power of 3 here. We're wicking both sides. Technically, that's the push down. Already, I can tell you if you're going to trade today, make sure you reduce your lot size. The Wednesday in between a CPI and a PPI. That's rare. Rare enough to warrant majority of the manipulation on the day. They're playing this like a fiddle, both sides. But for right now, there's nothing telling us, or not enough, I should say, telling us that this thing wants to go up yet. I'd rather wait for that bearish confirmation. About 15 minutes away from the 11 o'clock candle. Because right now it has not taken out any of these lows. That's why I want to see it close below this, at least to let me know that this thing wants to push down. We just have higher lows, higher low, higher low. That's why if this breaks and gives us a 5M, most likely we're pushing up. That would also make then the 10 o'clock candle a reversal candle if it goes up. Usually we don't like to see that. Those are the trades we avoid, right? We want to see a continuation happening from the 11 o'clock. From the 10 o'clock candle. So we began the push down. And then 10 o'clock, we'd like it to continue in that direction. So as mentioned before, there's more confluence to the downside than the upside right now. And if it closes under here, then it's taken out all these higher lows. which is more reason for this thing to go right into that 4-hour. Are we getting, I just want to see if we're getting, do we print no. No 5M fair value gap created here to the downside. That'd be another signal that this thing wants to push down if we can actually, out of this consolidation, print an actual fair value gap in either direction. This is the personification of muddied water. So we've hit that 1M fair value gap many times. But at the same time, we keep leaving these higher lows. Yeah, let's just wait for that confirmation. Confirmation will seal its deal. About 12 minutes away from 11. Right at the 238, right in the blue zone. There's a lot of rejection that happens here. So got to proceed with caution. This might be a little hard for beginners to comprehend, but once you get the hang of it, once you know exactly what these colors mean and what you're looking for, it's like the Matrix. I don't even see these colors anymore. I just see a bias. I just see up or down. But right now, I'm not seeing either, just visually. This isn't even a traditional power of 3. Look how big this range is. We'd have to count this entire thing. Then it becomes hard to figure out which way it's breaking that range first, right? So if we disrespect this 1M fair value gap and take out these highs, again, that just helps our bullish narrative. So I'm going to call that a disrespect right there. So there's London lows down here. Just want to mark that off. Oh, looks like we're pushing up. Still waiting for a bullish 5M fair value gap though. And then use this as an inverse. So that's clearly disrespected. We're going to ignore this now. But remember, we're still at that NYC fair value gap and the first presented fair value gap after our manipulation move. So until it gets past this and disrespects this, it's not going to move up. It's got to get over this and use this as an inverse and also create a bullish fair value gap. And it's got to do it all within our window of opportunity. When you stick to your rules, I've talked about this before. I'm just going to touch on this really quick. When you stick to your rules, there is no FOMO. There was nothing here that gave us FOMO. And then if you do take a loss even after all that confluence, you don't feel bad about it. You stuck to your rules. Then you got to just you just got to accept that as a business expense. When you're trading, this is your business. Taking a loss after following your rules, that's a business expense. Taking a loss when you don't follow the rules, that's on you. Then you can blame yourself. But you stick to the rules, there's no FOMO. You don't even feel bad if you lose. Look at that. Still have not created a 5M bullish fair value gap to use as a foothold. Now, for anybody following the early, the blue zone strategy still, only use it as confluence. Wait for a confirmation signal now. When you see this much muddying stuck in a range, then you, especially after 10:30, wait for the confirmation. Wait for the spotlight strategy to come in and help you. So we have not taken out these highs yet. And we're still at the NYC fair value gap. This is the last stronghold of the bearish bias. Lord of the Rings. If we can pass this and then get on the other side, then at least a narrative can be made, which is what it looks like it's doing. But now look at US 500. Still under that blue zone, still under that fair value gap. We want them both to punch through. Otherwise, this might just be taking out these highs because it needed liquidity, and then it might push down still. Also, as far as divergence, this is as diverging as it gets. This is having a tough time getting over this high, US 500. So until it rips through, this is the weaker pair. As soon as this actually breaks through, that's when we know that both of them want to go up. If it doesn't, and the weaker one pulls down NAS from here, as mentioned before, last stronghold. Here we go. There's a 5M fair value gap being created in here. Let's see if it sticks. And then let's see if it taps it. Or let's see if US 500 stays below here and continues to push down. Again, the personification of muddied water. They couldn't be playing both sides more than they are here. And even that on top of that, today's Wednesday. The Wednesday before a PPI and a CPI before it. It's rare. Usually you see these events happening back to back. Usually you'll get CPI on a Wednesday, you get PPI on a Thursday. We are also seeing a 5M fair value gap being created here. Hold on, instead of drawing more, I'm going to, still got 3 minutes left. Let's just see what happens here. just make a little sliver here. Three minutes left. Could all be decided in the next 3 minutes. The direction, I mean. For us, we need that. We need that break, and we need that confirmation. But if this 5M fair value gap closes, just feeds our bearish narrative. Either way, reduce lot size. This is just way too sloppy. I think we closed it, right? Yeah, we closed it here on US 500, which is the weaker of the pair. This is the one that needed it the most. Just get rid of that. One minute, 30 seconds left. NAS seems like this will stay open on NAS. And then we got to tap it and then create a 1M fair value gap. Make sure this is exact. Sometimes people get lost in our ticker tape reading here. Just because I'm showing you and I'm outlining where the bias might be taking us, I like to do it step by step. I'm still waiting for that confirmation. Without that confirmation, I'm not making a move. 29 seconds left. There's more room to the downside, to be completely honest with you. I'd rather this thing close off this fair value gap and continue pushing down. Take out these lows and hit this 4-hour fair value gap. I'd take it on NAS. Even though this is the weaker of the pair, it's just there's more room on NAS. But let's see. There's your 5M fair value gap. Now we need to hit it. Oops. And create a 1M bullish fair value gap in order for this thing to keep pushing up. We do want to see a tap though, especially on a day like today. There's your 20 EMA on the 1M. And since we have no fair value gap here, we're going to use this 5M inverse to see if it wants to push up, because it never created a bullish. So if all of a sudden we get that bullish and it wants to push up, then we need to see it push off of this inverse, because it's the only one here. Or I might use this, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, might be London's fair value gap. Could also use the midpoint of the blue zone. So here we already hit the end dog. There's your end dog. We did not hit it here. It was all the way down here. I didn't even notice that. change this color at least. There goes the weaker pair. Look at US 500. 21 seconds left. Let's see if this creates a 5M bearish fair value gap, then US 500 is pulling everything down. See that? Last stronghold of the bearish. Wow. There's your double break. There you go. That's your double break. We hit that 4-hour fair value gap. But we still gotta create a 5M bearish now and use that. That is a big, big candle. Because right now, if you went short, your stop loss would be here. We want to see a bearish confirmation. We want to see a 5M bearish fair value gap created, tapped. About 24 minutes left. Three minutes left in this candle. So what you don't want to see here is US 500 taking this liquidity, hitting this 4-hour fair value gap, and NAS not doing that because it is the stronger of the pair. So if they both start to move up from here and push towards a, well, there you go, there's your bearish confirmation. There's your bearish confirmation on US 500. That means you want to keep these both in suit with each other. We're not looking for NAS to get above this point now. So we want to see a 5M bearish fair value gap created and tapped, and then a push down. So we've already started the retracing here. But since we've already had our early retracement, we've already gesticulated here forever. I just want to see this 5M fair value gap stay open. And then I want to see us bounce off that and head down. And then for NAS again, for that 4-hour fair value gap right there. Let's just see where 1 standard deviation falls here. So 1 standard deviation most likely down to these lows. That would be the target for today. 55 seconds left. We do want to see this 5M fair value gap stay open. If for whatever reason NAS punches up and gives us a bullish confirmation, we're not taking it. We have too much confluence to the downside now. Now it would just be going against all bias. So this would just be an invalid day if we get that bullish confirmation. 15 seconds left. We want to see this fair value gap stay open. We want to tap it. Then a 5M fair value gap. Oh, sorry, a 1M fair value gap created. Bearish, tapped, push. 3, 2, 1. Right at the purple zone. Right at the blue zone and the purple zone. So remember, when you're looking at two diverging pairs, you'll always find zones that are similar, even if it's not the exact same zone. So here it's purple, here it's blue. That's a pretty big fair value gap right here. Here. Instead of drawing a new one, just going to use this old one. The 1M, we want to create a bearish fair value gap. I'd like to see an immediate rebalance of here, this candle, an engulfing 1M, and a push. Same thing here on US 500. 2, 1, that's a beautiful candle. Now I want to see a 1M bearish fair value gap created. About 18 minutes left in our stream. Since we have this confirmation, we're going to stick to US 500. We just want to see a bearish 1M fair value gap created. And you'll most likely see it over here as well first, since this is the weaker pair. It's digging deeper into that fair value gap now. So we can't use this immediate rebalance. We're going to need to see another one. Still sticking with the muddy theme. They're trying to milk this for every last little bit they have. Every trick in the book was pulled out here. Every manipulation play. "20 seconds left in this candle. "5 seconds. Now look at the distance between here and here and here and here. So they could technically try and sweep these highs for one last bit of liquidity run, whereas this might only tap here to the 238 and push down. Let's mark this out properly on the 5M. That is a big, big fair value gap on the 5M. A lot of room for them to play around with and manipulate. Let me get rid of some of these here just so it's easier to see. I don't need this anymore. I'll leave that one, that's the 1 hour. So all this, we're right at the midpoint of it. We've had no immediate rebalance yet, and we've had no 1M bearish fair value gap. 13 minutes left in our feed. Let's see if we can't get that entry. Right now, US 500 is the only one that's really giving us anything. Bearish confirmation, double break. And you can believe they're going to hold this up too, probably. Nine seconds left. We need a definitive 1M bearish fair value gap. And we want to get below this blue zone. About 10 minutes left in our stream. Hopefully we can get that set up. If this thing just continues pushing up, then obviously it's an invalid day. Playing both sides all the way to the very end. I like to avoid days like this. I could see the second I looked at it, before the range was even formed, this was going to be a muddy, muddy day. Make sure you're looking at the economic calendar so you know what days to avoid in general. This, CPI, PPI, FOMC, non-farm payroll, those days for sure. But then on top of that, when you see one of these kind of non-news days in between a CPI and a PPI, this is when they're going to do a lot of manipulation. Look at this. So we're just leaving that 5M bearish fair value gap. That's the very edge of it. Let's see if it stays within. Technically want to get a rebalancing candle here for this thing to continue to push down. Three, two, one. Nothing as of yet. So remember, US 500 took out that liquidity to the downside. It hit this 4-hour fair value gap. And it gave us a double break and a bearish confirmation, whereas NAS never did any of that. So this could just be a sign where the weakest one wanted to collect all that liquidity before they pushed this back up. But again, we're not interested. That would be going against all of our confluence. That's how matching up all our confluence saves us. So here we've created a 5M fair value gap here. About 1 minute 46 seconds left. See if it closes within this fair value gap. Here we didn't get that double break, and we never got a bearish confirmation. So let's see which one sticks. But when you see this much divergence, we're out. "21 seconds left. Let's see what this looks like. We're still inside this fair value gap. Could still drop off from here. "5 minutes left in our stream. Still nothing of interest. So we violated this already. So this fair value gap doesn't count anymore. Get rid of this one. Now the question is which one's going to prevail. We've yet to tap a 5M bullish fair value gap either to show us that this thing wants to push up. "3 minutes left. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get any kind of direction here. Definitely don't want to take a buy here after this confirmation. So we'll conclude the session there. Please check us out on fractaleffects.com. sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications so you know when we're live. We'll be